Hey everybody, it's Chris, and that's a phrase you're going to hear a few times. This video is a stitching together of 3 quick look videos, one for each of the Trilogy Challenge discs, the Maiden, the Patrol, and the Musket. So sit back, learn a little bit about the discs, I hope you enjoy. As always, put your questions below so I can get back to you. Thanks! Hey everybody, it's Chris, and tonight we're going to take a quick look at the West Side Discs Maiden, the 2018 Trilogy Challenge putter. We're going to go straight out to the course and start throwing it around a little bit to just get a feel for it. This first hole is about 220 feet. Get to see it just nice straight flight until it starts to fade. Gets right up next to the bucket for me. The second one, just a really quick wrist pop. The disc actually overshoots the basket, but you can just get a nice feel for how it's flying there. This one's going to be a little bit higher, a little bit more fade because of that height, and that's kind of what I figured out with this. The Maiden seems to be a very straight putter. Here you're going to see me put a little more snap on it, and it is going to just drift right. That is because it's pretty straight, so if you overpower it, it's going to turn. If you throw it on hyzer, it's going to hold that pretty well. Here you can see that nice fade off it. The wind was helping just a little bit on that one. But in general, it's going to hold the line. Here's a really hard ante. You're going to see it pan out, just settle down nicely. It didn't quite make it back to the circle, but it was actually a nice flight. And a couple more throws, just throw it high, see it straighten up, drift just a little bit right because of the power, and a little bit lower, it's going to do a very similar thing. So very straight putter. It's probably going to hold the line you put on it as long as you don't overpower it. Of course, the question everybody's going to have is, how does it putt? And I always hesitate to answer this because everybody putts differently, so it's really going to come down to how does this disc feel in your hand? And for me, the answer was it feels really good. It's a low-profile putter. It's a little bit narrower or shallower than the Judges I currently use. It's very flat-topped, and it has a microbead, so it still feels comfortable in my hand because I do like beaded putters. And that nice straight flight mixes well with my combo style of putt where I do spin the disc even though it comes from a push-putt style stance. So for me, this disc worked great. I mean, you can see I'm hitting those warm-up putts. Here I am on the course. I'm hitting the putts here, and I felt very confident. I mean, you're seeing 22, 25, 30-foot putts off this disc, and I'm hitting them very comfortably. But again, it's going to come down to what style of putter are you. So if it feels comfortable, great. If it doesn't, it's okay. We all putt differently, but check this putt out. I was pretty stoked about this one. Just outside the circle, uphill, and what you can't see until you catch it in the really slow-mo here is in between those two trees just before the target. Probably couldn't have done it again if you gave me $1 million to try, but made it that first try, so that's all that counted. Again, Maiden, very straight flying putter. Of course, not all of them go in. Give it a try. I think this is going to be a popular one. Thanks. Hey everybody, it's Chris. And this is quick look number 2 for the 2018 Trilogy Challenge. This time we'll be focusing on the Dynamic Discs Patrol. It's a very understable mid-range, as you'll see in the videos coming up. First throw out in the field, this is a pretty flat throw, thrown maybe 70%. You can see just how the disc wants to turn over and drift right. Second throw is going to be a little bit higher, and here you're going to be able to see that right side wing just dips, almost like you're throwing a forehand. It's going to cut pretty hard. Giving it more height, this disc naturally wants to move right. You're going to see this over and over again. This disc wants to get over to the right. It's very understable. That right side wing is going to dip. And if you do tip it too hard like this, it is going to cut roll. That one actually rolled probably 40 feet left on me. Speaking of rollers, these things are amazing for technical rollers. Here you'll see that one. You can kind of see it bounce behind the tall grass and come near the basket. Here's the second one. I laid it down closer to where I wanted the first one, just straight at the target, letting it roll out. And I'm going to include a photo so you can see where these two ended up. That first one, the pink one, is about 18 feet maybe. The orange was almost close enough for me to dunk it. So out into the field, let's give them a big hyzer flip just to see what they do. See, it stands up, drifts way over to the right before tailing off just a little bit to come back inside the circle. I included the second one to show that you can get them to fade left. It just takes some work. You're going to have to power them down or give them a lot of hyzer so they have room to stand up. Here at Wendell Moore again, just giving the discs a little bit of room on the left side to work. And you can see even on this little line, the disc is going to drift all the way over to the basket. In the second throw, higher line, again, just going to drift. Actually, I thought this was going to go in the basket. It sweeps right past it. So let's go out to the course. This is a short hole one at lapping. It's about 220 feet. You can see this is a really low power shot, and it's actually going to end up about 70 feet past the basket in the woods. Second shot, I'm going to turn it a little bit harder, and you'll get to see just how hard this thing likes to turn if you give it a little bit of snap or a little bit of angle. Apologies for the coloring here. This is long. This is the gold tee on hole 1 at Lapping. It's a lot longer of a shot, over 300 feet, and it's a really tight turn to the right, which is very hard for a backhand. You don't get to see the discs flight the whole way because of the light values on the course. That's why I faded the colors. But you can see this is where the disc ended up. I think I actually had an ace run. It's by far the closest I've ever been to this pin. Moving on to hole 2, it's like 260, 270. You'll see I give it just a little bit of power. It stands up and actually drifts right of the pin. It's going to skip past that tree that's next to the pin. This is hole 3, again, very low power. Just stands up, drifts to the right. It'll give me a solid putt. So that's the Patrol. Very understable mid-range. You can power it down to get it to go straight, or you can power it up and just get it to turn for days. Really looking forward to disc number 3, the Musket, coming soon. Hey everybody, it's Chris, and this is part 3 of the quick look at the 2018 Trilogy Challenge discs. This time we're looking at the Latitude 64 Musket. I would consider this a control driver in that 9-10 speed range. It's going to be fairly straight, but I think it really excels at this type of throw. I'm sorry it's bleached out, but just a little bit of tilt, it's going to turn to the right, and then the basket is straight through those 2 trees back there in the distance. It's going to fade just short of the basket, end up within 15 feet. Here you can see the putt from that placement. And here's a great example of that throw. A very similar throw to the previous one, not quite as much tilt on it. It's going to just kick out to the right, slam back to center, run the pin. The second throw, I'm going to throw it lower, let it flip up, and then let that stability at the end bring it back inside the circle for a putt. So now I've backed up to about 400 feet away from the pin. I'm not going to get to the bucket on any of these throws, but here's a hard, high anhyzer line. You can see it likes to carry that right drift, but it has enough stability that it fights away. This is a much better throw, closer to the center line. That drift is going to allow it to push forward and get inside the circle for a decent distant putt from 400 feet. And here's just a hard, low throw. You can see that natural right drift, and then that nice strong fade at the end. Coming back to about 370, much easier line for me to get a good result from. I don't have to throw quite as hard. You can see just that nice smooth throw. Stalls back, or fades back to the basket. And here's where I think this disc excels. Just giving it a hard snap, drifts out to the right, comes right back to the center. Both of these throws, they're not exact. One, obviously orange is higher, but they both kick out to the right, and they're both going to be right behind the basket, almost in line with the pin, both inside the circle. Now here's what you have to be careful of. Because it does like to drift a little bit right when you hit it, if you tilt it also, it can go over into the trees on the right side. These last few throws are all going to be about 70% power, so here you'll see just a nice flat throw, let it fade back toward the basket. Second throw is going to be a much lower line, but it actually is holding a straight line from where I threw it. I was aiming right at the pin. It's going to fade back at the last second. I don't think it got inside the circle. Learning my lesson, a little bit higher, a little bit more inside. This one's going to fade right over the top of the basket, give me a decent putt. And then dialing it in on the fourth. Very similar throw, but you'll watch it go just behind the pin on this one. So that's the Latitude 64 Musket. Very controllable for a range of arm speeds. You can see it on the lower speed, very straight. Higher speed, it's going to have that tilt. I think it's versatile. It's going to be a popular disc. Great for a Trilogy Challenge. Thanks for watching. So there are 3 quick looks at the discs that will be in the Trilogy Challenge package this year. This is not a full review by any means. I will be going back and doing all of the individual shoots with comparison shots. But I hope you enjoyed, learned a little bit of something. As always, please put the questions below so I can get back to you. Thanks for watching.